The afternoon sun painted the sky with vibrant hues of orange and purple, casting long shadows across the cracked streets of the outskirts. For most, it was a signal to retreat, but for me, Ethan, and my friends Maya and Leo, it was the perfect time for adventure. We were 16 years old and had an insatiable thirst for uncovering the secrets the world hid from us. And the biggest one, at the moment, was the building at the end of the street, nicknamed the Silence by the locals. The Silence was an imposing structure, once a luxurious hotel, now consumed by rust and oblivion. Broken windows stared like empty eyes, observing the neighborhood with a silent sadness. The stories about the place were diverse and frightening. Ghost sightings, mysterious disappearances, and even tales of dark rituals. Of course, most were just rumors, but the heavy atmosphere of the old hotel, the feeling that marks of something terrible had happened there, was undeniable. "Are you sure this is a good idea, Ethan?" Maya asked, her dark eyes scanning the dilapidated facade. She had always been the most cautious of the group, the voice of reason in our follies. "Relax, Maya," I replied, trying to sound more confident than I actually felt. "It's just a search. We'll take a look, see what we find. I promise we won't get into anything dangerous." Leo, with his eternal mischievous grin, was already heading towards the rusty fence surrounding the building. "Dangerous is staying at home bored. Come on, guys, adventure awaits." With a resigned sigh, Maya followed Leo. I, however, hesitated for a moment. The sense of danger was palpable, but curiosity was stronger. I grabbed my backpack, which contained a flashlight, a notebook, and a camera, and joined my friends. The fence gave way easily under Leo's strength. We entered the overgrown grounds, smelling the mildew and dust that permeated the air. The grand entrance of the building, once magnificent, was now obstructed by debris and rotten wooden planks. Leo, ever the most impatient, was already looking for a way in. "I think it's over here," he said, pointing to a window on the first floor that seemed to have been forced open. Carefully, Leo removed the remaining pieces of glass and helped us squeeze through. The darkness inside the building was almost absolute, and the smell of decay was overwhelming. I switched on my flashlight, and the weak light danced across the peeling walls and the dirt-covered floor. "Wow," Maya murmured, admiring the immense lobby. The hotel structure, even in ruins, still demonstrated its former grandeur. Imposing columns, elaborate arches, and what remained of a crystal chandelier, now covered in cobwebs, told the story of a more prosperous time. We began to investigate, moving cautiously. The silence was unsettling, broken only by the rustling of our footsteps and the constant dripping of water. Each room we entered revealed a little more about the building's past. Guest rooms with shattered furniture, an abandoned bar with empty bottles, and a dining room where time seemed to have stopped the moment the last meal was served. In the middle of one of the rooms, we found a painting covered by a cloth. Leo, driven by curiosity, pulled the fabric away, revealing an old portrait of a woman with an enigmatic smile. Her eyes seemed to follow our movements. "Who could she be?" Maya asked, intrigued. "I don't know, but she seems important," I replied, noting the painting's characteristics in my notebook. The exploration continued, and the sense of mystery intensified. We knew we were trespassing, that we were challenging the legends surrounding the place, but the fascination was greater than the fear. We were determined to uncover the secrets hidden within the silence, and with each step, we were getting closer to unraveling them. But, as we soon discovered, the truth awaiting us was far darker than we imagined. Delving deeper into the building's bowels, we reached an area that seemed completely isolated from the rest, a damp and dark basement, accessible by a decaying wooden staircase. The air there was thick and cold, and a sickening smell of rot hung in the air. "I don't like this," Maya murmured, hesitating at the entrance of the stairs. "Come on, just a look," Leo insisted, already descending the creaking steps. Maya and I exchanged worried glances and followed Leo. The basement was a maze of narrow corridors and small rooms. The light from my flashlight barely pierced the darkness, and every shadow seemed to hide something sinister. In one of the rooms, we found a locked cabinet with a rusty chain. Leo, with his innate skill, tried to force the lock, but the chain was too strong. "We need something to cut this," he said, frustrated. While Leo searched for something to open the cabinet, Maya noticed something on the floor. It was a small book covered in dust and with pages yellowed by time. She picked it up and began to turn the pages carefully. "Look at this, guys!" she exclaimed, her voice filled with surprise. "It's an old journal. The pages are almost intact." We gathered around Maya, and she began to read aloud. The diary told the story of a woman named Eliza, who seemed to be the same woman in the painting we had found. She was one of the hotel's first owners, and her accounts were filled with details about the hotel's luxurious life, but also with allusions to strange events and mysterious disappearances. The diary's pages revealed a dark side to the old hotel's history. Eliza mentioned secret rituals, nightly gatherings, and a belief in supernatural forces. She seemed obsessed with a mysterious artifact, which, according to her, possessed extraordinary powers. With each page read, the tension increased. Suddenly, a loud noise echoed through the basement. Leo, who was still trying to open the cabinet, jumped. "What was that?" he asked, frightened. No one answered. The noise came from somewhere deep within the basement. I pointed the flashlight into the dark corridor and felt a shiver down my spine. "It must be the wind," I tried to disguise my fear. But I didn't convince even myself. We decided to investigate the source of the noise. Guided by the hesitant light of my flashlight, we advanced through the dark and damp corridor. With each step, the feeling of being watched intensified. At the end of the corridor, we found a reinforced wooden door. The door was locked, but a crack allowed us to see what was on the other side. I approached the crack and peered in, but the darkness inside the room was so dense that I couldn't make out anything. "Looks like we have a problem," Leo said, with a serious tone. We tried to break down the door, but it was too strong. With each attempt, the panic increased. We were trapped in the basement, and we didn't know what awaited us. While we struggled with the door, Maya continued reading the diary. In one of the last pages, Eliza described a secret room located behind the door. It was where she performed her rituals and kept the mysterious artifact. "Guys, I think I figured it out," Maya said, her voice trembling. "She mentions a secret passage, but doesn't say how to open it." Suddenly, a strange sound echoed through the room. It was like something was scratching at the door from the inside. Panic consumed us. Something was in there, and it was listening to us. Leo, driven by desperation, began to pound on the door with all his might. "We need to get out of here," he shouted. Then, suddenly, the door swung open. The darkness swallowed the room. Time stopped. The only thing we could feel was fear. The darkness that enveloped us was unlike anything we had experienced. It was a thick, palpable darkness that seemed to suffocate us. The smell of rot and sulfur intensified, and a chilling cold invaded our bones. The light from my flashlight, once strong, now seemed weak and useless. The shadow of the wall seemed to tremble, as if something was moving within it. "Someone help me!" Leo's voice echoed in the dark, filled with terror. We clung to each other, desperately searching for each other. The darkness separated us, and each felt the terror of loneliness. Suddenly, I heard a moan. It was Maya. "Maya!" I cried, desperately trying to find her voice. The response came in a whisper. "Ethan, behind you." I turned, but I couldn't see anything. I felt a cold, damp touch on my hand. My hair stood on end. I didn't scream, but the word was lost in the oppressive silence. The light from my flashlight began to flicker and then went out. We were completely in the dark. Panic consumed me. I ran desperately to find my friends. But with each step, I moved further away from them. I was lost, alone in a labyrinth of horrors. As I ran, I bumped into something. It was the door we had tried to open. But now it was sealed, locked. We were trapped. Suddenly, the darkness began to change. Grotesque, shadowy figures materialized around me. They moved, twisted, watching me with red, glowing eyes. They were nightmares materialized in flesh and bone. I heard a guttural growl coming from somewhere nearby. A monstrous creature, with sharp claws and pointed teeth, leaped from the shadows. I tried to scream, but my voice wouldn't come out. The creature attacked me. The pain was excruciating. I felt its claws tearing my skin, its teeth piercing my flesh. I fell to the ground, feeling blood flowing down my body. I saw the shadows approaching, drawn to the smell of blood. They drew closer, and the darkness engulfed me. Then, suddenly, everything stopped. The pain, the fear, the darkness, all vanished. Sunlight began to filter through the broken windows, illuminating the basement with a weak, flickering glow. The heavy silence still hung in the air, but now it felt different, lighter, as if something had been relieved. I was lying on the floor, injured, but alive. My friends were around me, also injured, but breathing. The darkness had disappeared, but the terror that had left us remained etched in our souls. As I rose, I realized the basement was empty. The grotesque figures and shadowy creatures had vanished, as if they had never existed. The door that had seemed locked was open, as if someone or something had released our prison. There was no sign of the creature that had attacked me, nor of the other beings that had watched us. Everything seemed to have returned to normal, but I knew it wasn't true. Something had changed within us, and that would never be forgotten. Carefully, we helped each other out of the basement, climbing the creaking stairs with hesitant steps. As we emerged into the main hall, the late afternoon sun welcomed us, but it brought no comfort. We knew we had experienced something beyond simple exploration. The silence wasn't just an abandoned building. It was a prison of secrets, of fears, and of stories that shouldn't have been told. And even if we tried to forget, the memory of everything we had seen and felt would remain with us forever.